Welcome to the Conscious Kinky Podcast, where we explore sexuality, connection, and power through awareness and intentional choice.
At the Kink Collective, we help people reframe their relationship with sexuality, build deeper connections, and become safe spaces in the world.
Each episode invites reflection, not performance.
And the conversation continues inside Conscious Conversations, our live community space. Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome back to the Conscious Kinky Podcast. This is month 4, and this month we're starting with power, boundaries, and self-worth, reclaiming personal power. Hi, my name is Joshua.
And I'm Kat. This podcast exists because so many people feel disconnected from their own power, not because they lack strength, but because they were never taught how to recognize, hold, or trust it.
At the Kink Collective, our work is simple and intentional. We help people understand how power actually operates, how it operates in the body, in relationships, and in choice, so they can build connections rooted in integrity rather than fear.
So each week we slow things down. We explore kink, leather, and intimacy not as performances or identities to adopt, but as mirrors, reflections of how we relate to power, to boundaries, to self-worth, and responsibility.
Today's episode opens power, boundaries, and self-worth. And we're starting at the foundation, reclaiming personal power. This episode introduces 8 reflection questions. The first 4 questions focus on awareness and orientation, where power is leaking or misunderstood. The second 4 invite deeper introspection and integration, how to hold power with clarity and care.
You don't need to answer everything right now. Let this be a listening experience. Notice what resonates. Notice what challenges you. Let's begin.
Most people think power looks loud. It's assertive or decisive, in control. My experience, real power is often quiet. It's the ability to stay present when something feels uncomfortable, to tell the truth without needing to dominate or disappear, to choose yourself without needing permission.
Many of us learned about power indirectly, through family dynamics, authority figures, culture, or survival strategies. We learned when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to comply, when to adapt. Over time, those strategies can become habits. Habits that once kept us safe, but now keep us small.
Kink doesn't give people power. What kink does, it reveals how they already relate to it. In conscious kink spaces, power becomes visible. How we ask, how we negotiate, how we listen to our bodies, how we respond to limits.
So this episode is not about taking power from anyone else. It's about recognizing where your power already lives and learning how to hold it responsibly.
So let's jump into the questions.
All right. These first 4 questions help map your current relationship with power without judgment. All right. So here's question 1. Where in my life do I give away power without realizing it?
This can be emotionally, relationally, sexually, socially. Where do you defer, shrink, over-explain, or go quiet, even when something matters to you?
So this question for me, when I looked at them, and I had to do a little digging because I realized that sometimes I'm not exactly clear about power in terms of my own internal ability to identify power. When we said earlier about, is power aggressive? Is power assertive? I really came up thinking that power belonged to the people who yelled the loudest. I thought power was the purview of people who were angry, basically, decisive, but angry and loud, and he who yelled the loudest had the most power. And I'm not that way. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a loud person. I am the person who has power that's quiet. But it took me a long time to know that. It took me a long time to understand that. And so I think I gave away my power a lot over the years because I just didn't understand what it was. I just didn't understand that I had it. And I would yield either in silence or mostly just in silence or in not speaking up to anyone else whose power seemed the loudest in the room.
Yeah, as I'm listening to it, it makes me think of power over, like control over, someone control over the emotions or circumstances control over a reaction. As I just got back from Vegas, so just for time awareness, I just got back from Vegas yesterday. So you know how far ahead in advance we record these. This is coming out Friday, right?
It's coming out tomorrow.
So, I'm dealing with exhaustion and I'm dealing with frustrations and my own roller coaster trying to settle back in. And as I'm feeling my emotions swell, and it's like, do I want it to control me? Do I want it to steer how I'm going to feel today? Whatever's happening.
It's interesting. One of the things, because I researched a little bit, me and ChatGPT had a little chit chat about power, and
We should call it Chit Chat GPT.
Chit Chat GPT. And one of the things that it pointed out was power can look like control over one's feelings, right? Not having power is like being run around by your emotions, and I certainly relate to that. I've struggled with that a lot in my life, being able to be master of my own ship, as it were, in the emotional realm. And that is a form of power. And so I can say that in recent times, I've learned to exercise a little bit more power as I've learned to have sort of dominion over my own emotions. But I do think you're right that people who don't have control over their own emotions exert power or try to grab power by sort of lording their emotions over other people.
Yeah. And, I noticed that in my relationship with some of my own emotions, it's like, who has the power if I'm not reacting or responding or being the person that I want to be in that space, right? Like getting angry and reacting to something, or being sad, or whatever it is that I can choose to do otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does the real power lie? And as I'm sitting about it, it's like the power lies in the area of not reacting, of controlling that need to react.
Yeah. Fear is the biggest one for me. Fear paralyzes me. And so I realize that I can exert power over myself. I can't make so far I have not mastered the art of banishing fear from the kingdom. I'll let you know if that ever happens. But what I can do is feel it and not let it dominate me. Feel it and not let it stop me. Because that's what happens. Like, I get paralyzed with fear. And I lose my power when that happens. I don't have autonomy. Autonomy is another good word for me for power. The ability to have agency over myself is a form of power. And that was helpful for me to think about it that way, because I don't know about any of you, but I have trouble sometimes just relating to this word power or as a concept. So some of these other ways of looking at it have been helpful for me: autonomy, self-direction, and being able to do that.
Yeah, it's a really solid question. Where in my life do I give away power without realizing it? And that's it right there, is how I respond to circumstances.
Yeah. And for you grammarians out there, obviously, if you're not aware of it, you can't know where you're doing it. So this question is asking you to bring into the light that which you have trouble seeing.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Me, right, is really being able to say that.
Yeah.
So, in giving away some of the power, is also not showing up, not advocating for myself, right? Not taking the space that I deserve. I give up power.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's jump to question 2. What behavior do I use to stay safe that actually weakens me? Is it silence? Is it pleasing? Avoiding conflict? Over-functioning? What once protected you but now cost you self-trust?
For me, for sure, it's silence. And the silence is in service to avoiding conflict. that's one of the ways that's a behavior that I use to stay safe that actually weakens me, because then I don't speak my truth and I don't say sometimes things that need to be said out of fear. There it is again. Fear drives that. I'm afraid of conflict. I'm afraid of making waves. I'm afraid of upsetting you or anyone. And so I'll just stay silent. And that's not good. That's not good for me. It's not good for anyone, right? Because if I need to say something, then I need to say it. And that's where I take my power back, by being willing to come up to the plate and speak a truth. And I've been practicing that for a long time. But for those of you on this journey, like, it's not always easy, especially when something's a well-worn groove, right? For me, just staying quiet, avoiding conflict, pleasing is a well-worn groove. Like, sometimes that's the easiest way. That's the easier, softer way, as it were. When the right thing to do, the more powerful thing to do, is to show up and to tell the truth.
Mm. Yeah, I read this question, I think of do's and don'ts, wants and don't wants, right? And what behavior do I use to stay safe? And it's to stay safe from what? Right? It's like...
Well, because in some ways, for me to stay, when I say stay safe for like avoiding conflict, it's imagined.
Yeah.
I'm staying safe from an imagined consequence, because I don't know that it's going to happen. And if I don't ever take the chance to speak the truth, then I don't ever find out.
I think mine comes back to people pleasing.
Yeah.
And it keeps staying safe from disappointing people.
Like saying what you think they want you to say?
Staying safe from rejection. There you go. Yeah, right? That if you don't get it here, you get it somewhere else. And it's funny because that's actually my pattern. If I don't get it here, I'll get it somewhere else. So my fear is that that's what would be put on to me.
Food for thought.
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah, because that's my response. If I don't get it here, I'll get it somewhere else. Or that was my response.
Yeah. And I know that response, and so sometimes that's what drives my silence and my not speaking up.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid that's what I'll get. Right?
It's crazy when you don't talk about it. Hold on. Before we go to the next question, let me think about that a little more. Yeah. What once protected you but now costs you self-trust. The self-trust part is putting myself in situations I don't want to be in, that I'll grow resentment for being in later. It's like I like to come back to the dance recital that I turned down because I couldn't. It would have just led me into a negative headspace.
Yeah, but that was a good example of you speaking up for yourself, like saying what you needed.
Yeah. So essentially, I cannot do anything more than 40 minutes sitting down and watching something that I did not initiate myself. If you invite me to something, particularly a Broadway show, or any performance for that matter, 40 minutes is my max. So if I really love the person, it's like I would just grind through it. And what would happen is I'd get angry and frustrated because I can't sit there for a prolonged period of time. And then at the end of whatever we were at, I'd be in a sour mood because I just forced myself to sit there in something I didn't want to be in.
So just invite him to dinner instead.
Just invite me to dinner instead. And on the other side, I was able to share with the person that I can't do that because it's just going to take away from your experience. And it was... saying it cost me a little hurt feeling, but also understanding, and it gained me not being invited to other fucking dance shows and performances and Broadway plays and shit like that. I'm joking, right? Like, I love The Little Mermaid. I'd see it again. And I like going to certain things, but I know in my body intuitively where I can and can't be. For the most part, because there's sometimes I'm like, wow, that shit was great, thank God I went. But it's most likely not a Broadway show.
All right.
So question 3, when do I feel most powerful in my body? And what is present in those moments? Notice this isn't about control. It's about sensation. It's about grounding. It's about clarity, alignment.
So when I was thinking about this, I thought one of the ways, when I'm all in leather, when I'm dressed all in leather, or if I'm dressed up, like high heel dressed up, which I don't do that often because I don't wear them that gracefully anymore.
I'm meant for walking.
But like, when I get all dressed up in some way, that I feel powerful in my body. And there's a certain, when I'm feeling powerful in my body, what's present is confidence. What's present is self-control, not control, but like an embodied sense of myself in a good way, in a positive way, in a confident way. And I think I do feel powerful in those moments.
Nice. For anyone who knows, it's also Wednesday. What's today's date?
Thursday the 29th.
January 29th. I'm going to go turn this heater on because my nose is starting to get cold. But I have mic'd up. So when I feel most powerful in my body is when I have a purpose being there. When I have a role or an intention or something that I can provide. Something that I can provide that says you belong here and you have a role to play. And because I have permissions, I have boundaries, I have limits in those settings. I know what I can and can't do. I mean, for the most part, like what my intention is in that space. I feel most powerful when I understand the intention.
Yeah.
I mean, I think dressing up is also important. Understanding that outfits make me stronger. What I wear makes me feel more powerful, more seen in particular spaces. For example, if I go to a meeting, like a business meeting or something like that, I may wear some leather, I may wear a suit, right? If I'm going to a function, I'll wear something different to make me seem, to fit the energy of the space.
Yeah. I also agree with, because I'll borrow from the flip-flop to say, when I'm teaching, I feel powerful. When I'm in front of people, facilitating, helping, when I'm working with people, I feel powerful. When I'm in a helping capacity. And I think it's for the reasons that you said, because I know my purpose. I know that I have a purpose there, and I know what it is, and I'm good at it, right? Competence for me breeds confidence. When I'm good at something, I feel powerful in my body, and I feel confident.
Yeah, confidence is powerful for me.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with arrogance.
Correct.
Right? All right. So question 4, what did I confuse with power growing up? Was it approval, compliance, aggression, visibility, or invisibility? Right? What definition of power did you inherit? And does it still serve you?
Well, I think that's what I was talking about earlier. I grew up believing that power was to the loudest, right? If my dad would get mad, he'd raise his voice, and that was the final word in the house, right? That was the power. And so that's the model that I inherited. That's what I learned. I learned that like whoever is the loudest wins. And it's funny because my sister came out of that environment. I only have one sibling, and if you raise your voice, her lower lip will quiver. She hates the sound of raised voices. That was her takeaway from our childhood, was to just not have any space for raised voices. Where I saw it as, I would see it as an invitation for me to raise my voice to see if I could get a word in, right? But ultimately,
I like when you do, Mama.
But ultimately, I would lose. I was a kid, and there was, if Dad decided he was going to pull rank, then that was where the power lied, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so that was my early model, not really a good model, and I sort of rejected it. And that's why I think I've spent a lot of years not really understanding power, not really understanding my power or what it is, the quieter type of power, the power that comes from self-control, self-reliance, self-autonomy. I think knowing that that's also where power comes from is really important.
For me, I think power is about the ability to make things happen, right? The ability to take action, to make change. It started with physical ability from youth. Ooh, you're strong, look how powerful you are. Then that changed over time as I got to understanding things don't necessarily get done just by physically doing them, but there's processes. I think that's where because I can't say I confused anything with power, because it could be used as power or it could be seen as abuse, right? It could be the same roadway to get there physically. I think it was around because power against people who don't want it isn't power, right? It's like, to me, that's abuse. That's when you have this aggression. It's when you have an asshole senior ranked person who doesn't have power. They have power through their rank, right? They have power through their certifications.
Right.
They have power through their paperwork. And to me, that's one form of it, but it's not. I don't think I confuse it.
I almost feel like you're coming up on the difference between power from your rank versus power that's earned or given through leadership.
Yeah.
Right, that kind of power.
Because the question is, what did I confuse with power growing up? And I don't think I confused it. I think for a long time I've seen it for what it was, and if that's called manipulation, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But I think intuitively and morally, I'm thankful I've been able to see or observe the difference between genuine power and something that's taken.
Yeah. Another place that I saw power growing up that I had trouble identifying with is power through femininity. Women who were able to yield or wield that kind of almost sexual energy or sexual power over men in particular, or over whomever. But
well, would that be power, or would that be?
I don't know if it would be power. I think because in some ways, to me, from the outside looking in, it looked like manipulation, but it seemed powerful.
I think because manipulation, I was actually having a conversation around this word not too long ago. Manipulation isn't a negative word, it's just a word.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, now, if they were using their sexuality and seducing specific responses, right, versus intentionally.
Yeah.
Like seducing versus
women who could get what they want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
By using their feminine wiles or whatever, however people put that, right? Like getting people to do things for them, getting people to buy things for them, getting people to treat them nice or special or different, because they have this power, this energy that they're able to wield. And I didn't understand it. I was very much, on the outside of the glass looking in at that sort of thing. But that looked like a form of power to me, because there were women who I watched be able to achieve things and get things that I didn't know how to get in the world. And that seemed powerful.
And I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is powerful. Unless, because the question, what did I confuse with power growing up? So imagine, it makes me think of the person who becomes a manager and becomes an asshole. Right? It's like getting compliance is powerful, right? Being aggressive as a manager to get things done, right? It's confusing power with abusing power.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and there's the difference between do it because I tell you, or I'm making you do it, and doing it from a place of, wielding your power as good leadership so that people want to follow you. You either will follow me or you'll want to follow me. And I think both are powerful positions. And I mean, I certainly know which one I prefer. I much prefer the leadership version, but.
You're adorable, Mama. I love it. I love it. No, you're correct. You're correct. So if you're listening with others, remember, these questions aren't about being right. They're about becoming aware. Power doesn't strengthen through performance. It strengthens through honesty for me.
Yeah. Once we see where power is leaking or misunderstood, the next step isn't force, it's responsibility. See, these next 4 questions will explore what changes when you trust yourself enough to hold power consciously.
So we're going to dive into introspection and integration. But before we start there, I want you guys to remember that at any point, you can pause the video, take time answering the questions. You don't have to share your answer with whoever you're with, but consider this. Give yourself 3 minutes for each question. Pause, and then come back to it another day or two, and then spend more time fleshing it out. So you can brain dump for 3 questions and then hit the next question. Brain dump, hit the next question. And then in a day or two, revisit. So let's jump on to number 5. What would change if I trusted myself with more power? What decisions would you stop outsourcing? What conversations would you approach differently?
I think for me, when I let myself trust myself a little bit more, which goes to this a little bit more with power, I'm a little more assertive. I get things done. I'm a little less needing approval. You know, I'm a little, those are the times where you see me come a little bit less to you for, you know, your approval when I don't really need it, when I just need to stop, you know, the decisions that I stop outsourcing, right? Like I can just make decisions and do things. And I think I've been doing that a little bit more. I feel like I have been, because I've been really wrestling with this with myself. Conversations that I would approach differently would be when I need to speak a truth, when I need to say something. You know, I have a criteria that I use to make a decision to open my mouth, right? It's my 6-point criteria. Is it truthful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said right now? Those are filters through which I need to approach. If I have something that I have a question about, do I need to bring this up? Will this generate bad feelings? Should I say this thing that I need to say? But if I put it through those 6 points and it passes, then I need to just do it. Because the only thing stopping me then is fear. Again, fear of rejection, fear of making conflict, fear of making somebody upset. And with enough power, I just speak my truth.
I think for myself, it would be demanding access to places. And what I mean by that, so the question is, what would it change if I trusted myself with more power? It's to realize and understand what I am qualified to ask for. And it comes back to feeling value, understanding the value that I have in spaces that I visit or I take. And it's like being more actionable towards things I know I can accomplish because I have the ability to do it and to make things happen.
Yeah, you do. For what that's worth.
I want to think about what decisions would you stop outsourcing? I would just pick the phone up and be like, hey, listen, work with me because this is what's going to happen for you. Because that's my hiccup is I guess people not seeing it is I guess if I trusted myself that more people see it than I give myself credit for. What would change if I trusted myself with more power? Meaning trusted more people saw who I am without devaluing myself.
Anything I can do to help you with that, let me know.
I would just make things happen. I'd just pick up a call. I remember I told you a few years ago, it's like Steve Forbes. I had the privilege of meeting him and seeing him in action. And everyone came to this man. And he didn't go to anybody. Everyone came to his office, everybody. And it was like, to me, that's power, right? That's someone, he's a wise man, and people, they want to understand him. And he has that type of power. When state officials are coming, they're setting appointments with you. That's significance, that's power, right? That my time is valuable, so I need you to come see me. And like, there's a self-awareness in that power. And it's not to say better or less than. It's just like, I'm aware of the tools that I'm using and where I have to be certain places at certain times, because that's the priority.
Yeah.
So if you want to connect with me, you have to adapt to what I'm doing in order to gain access to me. So I think it's an awareness thing.
Yeah. I see that. And I see that coming for you.
And you too, Mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a long time ago, you too.
Yeah. I had a thought, but it disappeared. Oh well.
Was it about how great you are?
Yeah, that's what it was. It's about how great you are. Must be time to move on to the next question. All right, next question. What boundary would I need to strengthen to hold that power responsibly? I suppose we're talking about the power from the last question, right? So power without boundaries creates harm. Boundaries without power create resentment. So what supports balance for you between this thing about boundaries and power?
I would need to I would have to loosen the grip of fear that I have on me. I would have to strengthen my confidence.
Yeah. That's a good question.
What boundary would I need to strengthen? Because another thing I'm doing is I'm removing places in which I was losing time or energy or power. Relationships that no longer served, actions and behaviors that don't bring me closer to alignment with who I am. So I've been in a situation where it felt like I was held hostage to someone's scheduling. And in order to maintain the peace, I kept silent. And Natalie stepped in and she came with a game plan, and she helped. And it helped me loosen up my spiral that I was going in a resentment. And the boundary I would have needed to strengthen is, who's in charge? What are we doing? Like, this was not the agreement. Stepping in and sharing my position in it versus keeping the peace.
That's a beautiful example. That's a great example of where boundaries are a form of power, responsibility. I'm caught up right now in this thing about power as value, which is why I'm having trouble bouncing to boundaries for a question. But I think the boundary that I would need to strengthen would be the one between me and fear also, right? Keeping fear off of me enough that I can responsibly make the decisions that I need to make and do the things that I need to do and take the actions that I need to take, not owing that I need permission from anyone to do it, not knowing that I need anyone's approval to do the things that I need to do, and to just be able to do them. And I stop me. My fear is what stops me. So making a boundary, an internal boundary for myself around the fear, right? I was just saying that to us earlier. We're in a stressful time right now, right? And I think the most important thing that we can do is just stave off the unresourceful emotions. Fear is an unresourceful emotion. I can't function well when I'm locked up in fear. And so doing what I can to just keep that off of me so that I can be in the power that lets me move me and my life and our life forward. That's what I need to do.
Thank you, Mom. Number 7 is where do I still seek permission instead of exercising self-authority? Notice where you wait for validation, reassurance, or approval before acting. I think in our business building, that happens sometimes, where we're seeking permission instead of self-authority. The role that I play here, I do it because I want your permission. I need your permission sometimes.
I feel the same way about you. It's like, sometimes I just need it I think it's the reassurance. I wait. I don't know if validation is a really strong word, but I do. It's like, I like the reassurance.
Yeah.
I like the approval before. I like somebody to say, great job, good direction, go do that, right? Like, and I don't know if that's just normal, but I don't think it's a bad thing entirely, but I do think that it's probably a little bit more productive to be able to fly off in the face without it.
Yeah. Where do I still seek permission instead of exercising self-authority? In some of the work that I do, I think in men's spaces, it's like doubting the self-authority that I would have in those spaces to say, listen, you're here, you're leading, or you're co-leading, or you're assisting, or even though you're not doing any of those, you still have value here. It's like, say what needs to be said. Speak out, like share.
Yeah.
Instead of
waiting for someone else to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like if something really needed to be said, like someone else would be saying it. Well, it's like if I think it, then I just need to say it.
Yeah. Because I feel it's like I don't speak from spaces I don't feel I'm qualified to speak from.
I don't think either of us really overstep those boundaries. The type of authority boundaries that come with, is it your place?
Yeah. Now, I mean, all that to say, it's taken years to get to this point.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I sought permission in a lot of spaces because I didn't have an awareness of the value that I brought to the space. I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I earned it. There was times I didn't feel like I had enough experience to make a call like that.
And sometimes I've had the tendency to default to just filling in the vacuum, right? If no one else will do it, I will. Whether or not I'm qualified to do it, whether or not I'm the one who should be doing it. If nobody's doing it and it needs to be done, I very often in my life have just stepped in and done it with varying results.
Yeah. So let's jump into the last question. What is one small action this week that lets me practice power with integrity? Not a dramatic overhaul, but a grounded, repeatable choice that reinforces self-trust.
I think for me, I just came out of a business meeting with a very long list of things to do. And I think that I'm just going to go ahead and do them. Like one of the things is we're getting ready to go away. And I know that it was supposed to be a vacation, but it's become a working vacation for me. And that's just how it has to be.
And that's just how it has to be. And I'm okay with that.
It's like, and I hope I don't disappoint anybody for not staying in full-on vacation mode for an entire week. I had questions as to whether or not I could stay in vacation mode for an entire week anyway. But at this point, there's just enough stuff on my plate to do that I'm just going to go ahead and exercise my authority to do the work that needs to get done and fit in some fun time while we're doing it.
That's why you're the mama, man. And that's, if you guys could hear her talk, see her in her power, like when she is, you guys do see her in her power, actually. I think the small action is to continue talking and not bottling up. I think the power comes in the communication for me.
I like that.
So that's what I'm going to do this week to try and build that relationship with power by speaking up.
Awesome.
So let's take a moment to review the questions for the week. Again, hit each question for 3 minutes, come back a couple days later.
Right, pen and paper.
Pen and paper.
Pen and paper.
So the first set, awareness and orientation. Where in my life do I give away power without realizing it?
2, what behavior do I use to stay safe that actually weakens me?
Number 3, when do I feel most powerful in my body and what's present in those moments?
And 4, where did I confuse, or what did I confuse with power growing up?
Set 2 is deeper introspection and integration. What would change if I trusted myself with more power?
What boundary would I need to strengthen to hold that power responsibly?
Where do I still seek permission instead of exercising self-authority?
What's one small action this week that lets me practice power with integrity? So if one question stands out more than the other, start there, right? That's usually where growth is already knocking on the door.
That's really, that's very true.
Yeah. And likewise, the question that gives you the most challenge, skip it the first go around and come back around to it after you've answered a couple of the other questions.
And then ask yourself why, what hesitation was I having around this question? Those are usually the big ones. Mm-hmm. You don't need to become someone new to reclaim your power. You need to stop abandoning yourself in small habitual ways.
Transformation through kink is not about intensity. It's about awareness, responsibility, and choice. Power becomes safe when it's held consciously.
These same questions will be explored inside Conscious Conversations, which is our live Tuesday night community space where reflection becomes practice. Conscious Conversation meets every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and is open to anyone curious about growth, connection, and integrity. No prior experience required.
You don't need to know the language. You don't need labels. You just need a willingness to be honest with yourself.
Thanks for listening to the Conscious Kinky Podcast. New episodes drop every Friday. Actually, in just a few hours, you'll be listening to this.
And the conversation continues inside Conscious Conversations every Tuesday night.
Until next time, remember, power isn't about control. It's about self-trust.
We'll see you in the conversation.
Good job, Mama. Oh, shit, it wasn't recording.